Morning, boys and girls. We're going to read the next 3 chapters in our book, The Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. Today's question is, if you were in this story, which character do you relate to most? So which character has the most similar character traits to you, so acts the similar way you would? Which character does things in the story that you think you might do? So after you listen to the 3 chapters, I want you to comment the character that you are most similar to and what happened in one of these 3 chapters that made you think that. Okay, let's get started. Chapter 22. Oh man, that was so dumb. Haley could not believe how idiotic she had been. Trying to crawl out of a book return slot? Like that was gonna work. She was giving herself a good talking to as she trudged up the steps to the first floor. When she entered the rotunda, she saw Charles Chillington slipping out into the lobby again. Chillington was a snake. Worse, he was a garden slug. Maybe a leech, something oily and slimy that left a greasy trail and liked to mooch off of other people's ideas. That was why Chillington had tailed the twin library nerds, Peckelman and Fernandez, upstairs during last night's dessert hunt. Haley was smart enough to know that Chillington was hoping to steal the book geek's ideas. Actually, Haley was a lot smarter than anybody, except her teachers and whoever scored her IQ tests, would know. With certain people, mainly grown-ups and silly boys, pretending to be a ditzy princess made getting what she wanted a whole lot easier. And what she wanted right now was money. Lots of money. Her dad had been out of work for nearly a year. They'd run through all their rainy day savings. They'd had to borrow from relatives and in-laws. If Haley could win this competition and become Mr. Lemoncello's spokesmodel, her family's money woes would be over, and they wouldn't have to sell their house. And once other people saw her on TV for Lemoncello games, they'd want her for their commercials too. And movies, maybe her own sitcom, maybe something on the Disney Channel. But for all that to happen, Haley needed a winning idea and fast. Something better than crawl through the slot that's barely wide enough for your wrist. Maybe she should flush herself down the toilet and escape through the sewers like Charles did in that video game. She headed over to the Book Nook Cafe so she could sit down and think. She stepped into the room and checked out the snack table. There were trays of cookies, strawberries, bananas, and brownies. Sitting down to nibble on a macaroon, she studied a row of cookbooks displayed on the bookshelves lining the walls. One in particular caught her eye. Cupcakes, cookies, and pie, oh my. Because the cover looked extremely familiar. 2 googly-eyed sheep made out of chocolate-frosted cakes with gobs of mini marshmallows for fleece. Hold on, guys. Letting the dog out. Okay. Haley had seen the cover before. In the lobby. It was in the glass case of memorable reads selected by the library staff. She went over to the shelf and picked up the book. When she opened the cover, she discovered 2 small cards. One was a 4x4 piece of white cardboard with a black silhouette of a sheep on it. The second one was yellow and was about the same size as a community chest card in Monopoly. Haley sniffed the card. It smelled like lemons. She grinned. For Lemoncello. It was on one side of the yellow card was printed super duper bonus clue. On the other was your marvelous memory has earned you even more memories. Proceed to the Lemoncello Biblia room. Look for item number 12. Haley slid both cards into the back pocket of her jeans, pulled out her library floor plan, and found the Lemoncello Biblia room. It was on the 3rd floor. Making certain nobody, Charles Chillington, was following her, Haley quietly dashed up a spiral staircase to the 2nd floor, checking for Chillington one more time. She tiptoed up to the 3rd floor, where she found the room labeled Lemoncello Biblia, mini museum of personally interesting and somewhat quirky junk. Haley opened the door and stepped inside. The front room was like a storage warehouse. Cardboard boxes were stacked on top of wooden crates sitting on plastic bins stuffed with papers. All the boxes, bins, and crates were numbered. She saw one labeled number 576. Guess Mr. Lemoncello never throws anything away, Haley remarked as she scanned the heaps looking for number 12 mentioned in her bonus card. Weaving her way through the stacks and columns, Haley finally found her super-duper bonus item. Item number 12 was an old boot box from Alexandriaville shoe store Haley had never heard of. Someone had taped on a label on the lid. Paraphernalia, accoutrements, and doodads for Mr. Lemoncello's 12th year. Haley lifted the lid. The box was filled with all sorts of confusing knickknacks. Hand-whittled prototypes for game pieces, a star-spangled red, white, and blue HHH Humphrey button, and a battered clasp envelope sealed up with tons of tape. Someone had scribbled, "First and worst idea ever," on the front of an envelope with magic marker. There were also a felt pendant from Disneyland and a rubber-banded stack of cartoony cards for something called Wacky Packages. The card on top was Breakfast of Chumps. Haley knew this memory box had to be an important clue. Why? She had absolutely no idea. Chapter 23. Kyle flipped over his lemon-scented super-duper bonus card and read what was written on the other side. You will find the ultimate version of this board game on the second floor balcony circling the rotunda. Said Akemi. What does that mean? I don't know. Let's roll out the paper and see. Akemi and Sierra helped Kyle anchor the edges of the scroll on the tiled floor. Okay, said Kyle. Looks like an early sketch for the board game. Let's see. See the circle in the center of the other photo? That's probably where you would place the spinner. You move your pieces around the 10 rooms. He stopped. Wait a second. What? Said Akemi. Do you recognize this game? Asked Sierra. Yep, said Kyle. I played it this week with my brother Curtis. It's Mr. Lemoncello's bewildering, baffling bibliomania. It takes place in a make-believe library. What about finding the ultimate version up on the top floor second balcony? Asked Sierra. Kyle grinned. You'll see. Coming up from the basement, Kyle saw Andrew Peckelman in the middle of the reading room, opening a long metal box sitting on top of a center desk. The holographic image of Mrs. Tobbins was there, smiling patiently, as Peckelman pulled some kind of magazine out of the box. Miguel was also near the librarian's desk, apparently awaiting his turn for a consultation. That's the box we saw the robot pluck off the shelf, whispered Akemi. Kyle nodded. He motioned for the others to follow him and slipped around the circumference of the rotunda. Akemi and Sierra slunk after him. In the shadows on the far side of the room, they saw Haley Daly heading for the staircase they'd just come up. Steps that would take her back to the basement. Kyle wondered if she'd found something else to crawl through. If so, he hoped it was bigger than a mailbox. Is this the real magazine? He heard Peckelman shout at the hologram. Yes, Andrew. This concludes your librarian consultation. Next, how may I help you, Miguel? Not so fast, snapped Andrew. I'm not done. Your consultation just concluded, said Miguel. Says who? The librarian. Miguel, said the hologram of Mrs. Tobbin, what is your question? Sorry, bro. I told you. She's just like Mrs. Yugas at school, snapped Peckelman. All the librarians like you better than me. Yo, ease up. You'll see, Mrs. Tobbin, you'll all see. I'm going to beat Miguel Fernandez big time. And when I win, I'm going to tell Mr. Lemoncello to fire you. She's a hologram, said Miguel with a laugh. You can't fire somebody who doesn't actually exist. Then I'll tell Lemoncello to pull her plug. Peckelman grabbed his magazine and stormed out of the rotunda into the lobby. I guess Andrew's planning on doing something with the front door, Kyle whispered to Akemi. Well, that's totally dumb. They already told us that the way out isn't the way we came in. Maybe Andrew doesn't think that Dr. Zinchenko was telling the truth, suggested Sierra. Come on, said Kyle, leading his team toward the closest staircase to the second floor. Glancing over his shoulder, he watched Miguel place a slip of paper on the table in front of the translucent librarian. This item has temporarily been removed from the stacks, Miguel, said Mrs. Tobbin. You will find it in the display case next to the original Winkle and Grimble scale model. Let me give you that location. There was a grinding sound like when movie tickets shot up through a slot in the box office. Miguel snatched the small square of paper that popped from the librarian's desk and spun around. He froze the instant he saw Kyle, Akemi, and Sierra sneaking around the room behind him. Chapter 24. "Hey," said Miguel, hiding the tiny square of paper behind his back. "Yo." "Yo," said Kyle. "What's up?" "Nothing, just, working on the puzzle." "Yeah, us too." Okay, later." Later. Both boys thumped fists on their chests like baseball players do. Miguel turned and ran for a staircase winding up to the second floor. "Come on, guys," said Kyle as he took off running for a different set of steps. When Kyle, Kimmy, and Sierra made their way up to the balcony, they watched Miguel run up to the third floor. As soon as he disappeared into a room there, Kyle unrolled the game sketch. "Look at the drawing, then look down at the floor," said Kyle. "They're the same," said Sierra. "Exactly. A circular room with a round desk at the center of that circle." "Awesome," said Akemi. "And there are 10 doors ringed around the balcony up here on the second floor, just like on the game board." Kyle tapped the rendering of the spinner in the right-hand corner of the game plans. "See how the spinner is divided into 10 colored sections numbered 0 to 9? "It looks like the Wonder Dome," said Akemi, "when it's not doing its kaleidoscope thing or running a video that makes you think the building is hang gliding across Alaska, which totally makes me airsick." "Well, in the game, you have to go to all Dewey Decimal book rooms and answer a trivia question about a book. You answer correctly, you slip a book into your bookshelf, and you move on to another part of the library. When you have 10 books, one from each room, it's basically a race to see who can exit the library first." "Okay," said Akemi, sounding pumped. "This is good. This is major." "Except one thing is missing," said Kyle. "What?" asked Sierra. "Mr. Lemoncello always works a clever backdoor shortcut into his games. For instance, in Family Frenzy, you can steal a coal chute. You can use a coal chute to slide into the millionaire's mansion at the end," said Akemi. "Exactly, and in the castle game, Charles snuck out through the sewers. Anyway, when my brother Curtis beat me at Bibliomania—" "You lost?" Akemi acted surprised. "It happens occasionally, but only because Curtis used this shortcut." Kyle tapped a black square on the game board. "It took him straight out to the street. He beat me by one spin of the spinner." "I don't see any black squares in the floor of our rotunda," said Akemi. "Maybe," said Sierra, "for this new game, Mr. Lemoncello put a secret square someplace besides the main room." Kyle nodded. "Maybe to win this new game, we need to play the old one." "You're a genius," said Akemi. "No, my brother Curtis is the genius. I just like to play games. So do libraries even have board games?" "Sure," said Sierra. The library in my dad's town has them." Which department?" said Akemi, pulling out her floor plan. "Young adult." Akemi tapped her map. "Third floor, stairs over there." "Let's go," said Kyle. But before they could take off, they heard Mr. Lemoncello's voice echoing in the rotunda. "Are you ready for your extreme challenge, Bridget?" Kyle and his teammates peered around the ledge of the balcony. Bridget Wadge was alone in front of the librarian's desk, staring up at the ceiling. "Yes, sir," she said. "Are you sure?" Mr. Lemoncello's voice boomed out of the hidden speakers. "You still have 22 hours to find the exit." "I want to go for it now, sir. Get a jump on everybody else." "Well, Dr. Zinchenko, reset the statues." The 10 holographic statues in their receded nooks flickered off, leaving black, empty spaces. This extreme challenge is based on the classic game of authors. Is based on the classic Game of Authors card game, said Mr. Lemoncello. "Here are the authors in your deck." Magically, new holographic statues appeared as Mr. Lemoncello rattled off the authors' names. Charles Dickens, Raymond Chandler, Edgar Allan Poe, Agatha Christie, Patricia Highsmith, Mario Puzo, Frederick Forsyth, John Le Carre, Dashiell Hammett, and Fyodor Dostoevsky. "He wrote Crime and Punishment," said Bridget excitedly. "Indeed he did. In fact," said Bridget, "all those authors wrote crime novels." "Correct again. However, that's the easy part. Dr. Z, how do we make this author's game ridiculously difficult enough to qualify as an extreme challenge?" "Simple," the librarian's voice echoed under the dome. "You will have 2 minutes, Bridget, to name 4 books written by each of our authors." Kyle gulped. It's impossible, he whispered. Not really, said Sierra, who was about to start rattling off titles when Mr. Lemoncello said, go! The sound of a ticking clock reverberated around the room. Okay, said Bridget down on the main floor. Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express, 10 Little Indians, Death on the Nile, The Mousetrap. Somewhere a bell dinged and the British lady in the sensible shoes disappeared. Poe, The Murder in the Rue Morgue, The Mask of the Red Death, The Purloined Letter, The Cask of Amontillado. Another ding and another statue vanished. Bridget kept going. Man, whispered Kyle, what grade is she in? College? 7th, said Kimmy, just like us. Bridget Wadge kept tearing through the authors. The bell kept dinging. 10 seconds left, said Mr. Lemoncello. Bridget had saved the worst for last. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Crime and Punishment. The one about the brothers. Then she stalled. She'd run out of gas. A buzzer sounded. I'm sorry, Bridget, said Dr. Zinchenko, but as we advised you, the extreme challenges are extremely difficult. You will be going home with lovely parting gifts. Kindly hand your library card to Clarence, and thank you for playing Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library. That settles it, muttered Kyle. I am never, ever asking for one of those extreme challenge dealios. Me neither, said Kimmy. I might, said Sierra. Maybe. Then she showed Kyle and Kimmy the rumpled sheets of paper she had written down, where she had written down 5 book titles for all 10 authors. And that's where we're stopping today. So make sure to comment with the character that you would be most like in this game.